4 episodes of setup, and today we stop talking and start making. By the end of the episode, you will have something blinking on a breadboard. That's the topic of today's video, and this is where it starts. Hi, I'm Christine, and I love to make fun and unusual wearable technology items. Welcome back. This is episode 5 of our Foundations playlist, all about getting you up and running with ESP32 boards. So we have Platform IO installed. We've looked right into that ini file and what every line means. We also looked at bringing sketches over from the Arduino IDE into Platform IO. So now we're going to write code, we're going to upload it, and watch what happens. Every Arduino framework sketch has 2 main areas, our setup and our loop. So let's be precise about what they do. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and if you like our tutorials, please subscribe and like. It really helps me being able to make more of this content. Setup runs once when we power up our board or press reset. So this is where you initialize things. You might be setting your pin numbers, serial communication, library setup. And once setup finishes, it never runs again. The loop runs continuously. It also executes from top to bottom and then immediately starts up again right from the top. Forever. It's like the heartbeat of your program. And that's the whole program structure. Everything you ever need will be written in these 2 areas. And if you do need helper functions, those will be written along the way. Writing the blink sketch. So let's write the actual code. On the ESP32 dev kit board, the built-in LED is wired to GPIO 2. In setup, we tell the board that GPIO pin 2 is an output pin, so that we're going to be using it. We're going to turn it on, we're going to wait for it, and then we're going to turn it off again. And this will repeat forever. One thing worth noting is we're going to define the pin number at the very top part of our sketch, and this will be called a constant. So what will happen is that if we need to change the pin number, it will change it throughout our code, and we only need to change it in one spot. So now we upload. Plug in your ESP32 to your computer. Make sure you have the right type of data cable. It must be a data cable, not just a power cable. Platform IO will usually auto-detect the port for us. And you can verify this by clicking on the devices icon in Platform IO Home. Your board should appear as a COM port. That's if you're using Windows, and if you're using a Mac, it usually comes up as a TTY serial. Now we just need to click the upload button. This is the right pointing arrow in the Platform IO toolbar down at the bottom there. And Platform IO will compile it, then flash the binary to your board. So watch the terminal. You'll see a compilation output. Then usually you'll see the words connecting ... as it does talk to the board. And then you'll see a progress bar and success. And then the LED will blink. There are some common upload errors and some fixes. Sometimes it might say failed to connect to ESP32, timed out. If that happens, you need to hold the boot button on the board while clicking upload, and then release the button when you do see the words connecting ... So some boards do need this every single time, and others will just connect and upload automatically. You might also see a port not found error or a board not detected, and this is usually the big clue that your cable, your USB cable, is a charge cable and not the data cable. Also, on a Windows computer, you might need a special driver. So if it's your first time using these boards, or if it's still not finding your board, there is a driver we can grab, the CP2102 or CH340. Those drivers need to be installed. So do Google your board's USB chip to make sure you find the correct one. Sometimes there's also a wrong boot mode detected message that comes up. Board is not in download mode, for example. So hold boot, tap reset, and then release boot. Then it should upload. So hopefully those fixes will solve any annoying problems that can happen. So let's walk through what the board is actually doing. So when we powered on and uploaded that code, that setup portion of our code ran first. So now the ESP32 knows that we want to use a pin, and we've instructed what should happen on that pin. It powered up, setup ran once, it told GPIO2 to be an output. Then loop started. It set that GPIO2, its general purpose input-output, to high, meaning giving it full power, which is 3.3 volts on that pin, and that turns the LED on. It then waited for half a second, and then it set that same pin to low, which would be 0 volts or off. It then waited another half a second, turned it back on again. So that loop is running right now, roughly twice a second. So keep in mind that the board is actually executing millions of CPU instructions per second. And most of these at the moment are just delay. We're just getting it to hold. So if you change the delay values, making it higher or lower, that will alter how fast that LED is blinking on your board. So make it fast, make it slow, make those changes and just see how your code is affected and how that changes what that LED is doing. And that exact feedback loop is how we would work as programmers. We would try a small piece of code, check that it works. If it works, we would then move on to add more code or change functions. So beyond blink. So a blinking LED on a development board is one thing, but now let's make it mean something and be a little more exciting. So we've got a WS2812B, sometimes called NeoPixels. So that essentially will look like this. These are lights on a little flexible circuit board, essentially. And these are individually programmable. So each of these has millions of color combinations, and we can change exactly how they look and what they're doing. We do need a library to get that to work. If you have a look, it has 3 pins that we do need to have a look at. It has a data pin, a ground, and a power. So we need to make sure all of these have wires connected back to our ESP32. I've added a fast LED library to that platformio.ini file. That is part of that lib_debs that we looked at in the previous episodes. We will go deeper on libraries in episode 20, but for now, we just need to know that let's put it in that board. The only thing different now is we are going to set up or initialize this LED light. So it's the same concept as our blink sketch. The LED is now connected to a different pin and it has its own power and ground. So fast LED will handle everything that happens behind the scenes for us. We just need to access the code from the library. Normally when we do install a library, it does have example sketches with it, so we can just look at an example sketch. You need to write down what is the data pin and how many of these lights that you do have on your strip or your circle or your matrix, so anything like that. So whichever design you choose, you need to just count how many lights are on it. Add those to your code. And then same thing, we're gonna upload this to the board and then we're gonna watch it run. Time for a key maker tip. Normally when you power these on, they are super bright. So bright at value 255 that they can be a little hard to look at. So what I usually do is I start with my brightness at around the value 50, and it makes it much easier to see, especially if you are in a dark room or similar. So always check your brightness levels depending on where the lights will be used and alter them accordingly. So now we know how to get something to blink. We also know how to make these guys do something a little more interesting. And that really is the foundations that everything else is going to build on. So next, in episode 6, we're gonna read a pin out diagram. So you're gonna learn what pins we can actually use, which ones to avoid, and how to never fry a component again. Guilty. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And if you like our tutorials, please subscribe and like. It really helps me being able to make more of this content.